here we are. This was part of my nightmare, part of it. I've warned you guys about the writer's strike before, and I've told you guys about the problems that come along with the writer's strike. The last one was not until 15 years ago, I want to say, and it was bad. It was bad out in them streets. Okay, um, the biggest tragedy, I've told y'all this before, was Heroes. If you've watched Heroes, that was probably the most potential of a great show. I mean, that show was almost like X-Men in like modern day. Oh, everything that happened during that writer strike was terrible. Everything that was good. I used to love the 4400, the original 4400 that came on USA, on the USA channel. So good. That show was so good. The Wire, final season, the last season, one of the greatest shows ever made. The last season suffered because of the writer's strike. It's not a joke. Because of the writer's strike, you know what else happened? That's when we got all this reality TV nonsense. You know why? Because you don't need writers for reality TV. The producers can do that. They can do all of that stuff on their own. So for me, it was like, oh my God, please do not come again with this writer strike stuff, because it's going to affect us. It's going to affect the things that we love. Some of the shows that you are in love with, they might suffer. Some of the movies, which we're going to talk about, might suffer. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a little ins and outs as to what the writer strike means. I'll go over some of the main points, just so you have like a basic understanding of it. And then we could talk about like, what's been impacted and like why this is happening. Because like I said, this ain't something that's just like, like you will feel this eventually. You will feel it. So here's the thing. The writers right now, why are they striking? So streaming and its ripple effects are the center of the dispute. The Writers Guild says that even as serious budgets have increased, writers' shares of the money has consistently shrunk. So, in other words, those are the residuals that they're talking about. Basically, back in the day, when a writer would write something, let's say like Seinfeld, right? Seinfeld, Friends, The Office, something like that. Whatever writer wrote that, clearly they were getting paid obviously good money while the show was going on, because people were getting paid like weekly, etc. But let's say the show Netflix buys it, right? And when Netflix buys it, for a whole new generation that never watched those shows, oh man, now the streamers, they're getting like all this residual money. So the other writers would like get money off of that. It's almost no different than music, right? If you go make a great song, a great album or whatever, and let's just say, you own your masters and stuff like that, you're going to get residuals every time it's played. I mean, look at Mariah Carey. Every time Christmas is about to come around, what's the song she sang, the Merry Christmas song she sang or whatever, she getting paid off of that. Every time Target run that ad with her in there, she get paid. Mariah Carey don't have to work no more. She good. So it's the same thing with the writers, and nobody's saying the writers are making millions of billions of dollars, but that's their livelihood. That's what they do, and if a show or a movie, gets new life, or if it gets bought out, or if it gets super popular again, they should get a piece of that pie. And that's all they saying, right? So anyway, it goes on to say streaming services use of smaller staffs, aka the mini rooms. Now, this is also a problem too, because when they have these mini rooms, it's basically saying like, yo, in the past, we needed a minimum of like 6 writers. I'm making that up. Let's say 6 writers. And those 6 writers would have to be responsible for writing 24 episodes in a season. Well, streaming is different. You don't really get 26 episodes anymore. You might get just 6. So now the studios are like, yo, why we got to pay 6 people to write 6 episodes of a show. How about we only get 4? But the thing is, while that might save some money, from the studio's perspective, it hurts the writers, because what ends up happening is a lot of times the writers, they get experience when they get into those big rooms. When you're in a room and let's say you're not the head writer, right? You're not Tyler Perry, you're not the main person, you're not Taylor Sheridan or whatever. The other writers, they get in there. That's how they gain their experience. So then they can go off and they can do bigger, better things off of whatever they learn. But if you keep shrinking the room, guess what else is going to happen? You're going to shrink the pay, because if we got less writers and less episodes, why we got to pay you as much, right? So all of that stuff is kind of like becoming an issue with them. So it says here the lack of a regular seasonal calendar in streaming has also depressed pay further. Let's go down a little bit here. So like one thing that you're going to see a very quick impact is going to be late night talk shows. So Jimmy Kimmel Live, Saturday Night Live, The Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, all of these shows live off of writers that write, like every day. Saturday Night Live, they need writers that write to the last minute. Like literally that day, they still writing up their scripts to that point. So you're probably going to see a lot of reruns on late night shows at this point. So, if you're one of those people that watches those things, it's not going to be current. You're going to see a lot of reruns with those. So people that like Yellow Jackets, I heard Yellow Jackets is a really good show. That's pausing its production right now because of the writer's strike at this point. It says production on finished screenplays can proceed on as planned without the benefit of last-minute rewrites. And this is something to kind of also consider. So James Gunn was just talking about this earlier when he was like, yo, every time he directs a movie, because he usually writes them, he will, like, in the middle of a scene, he be like, you know what? Nah, say this instead. Nah, I don't like that line. Yo, how about you try and change this and do that? He could do that as the head writer, right? And usually when you have a movie, and Marvel does this all the time, by the way, they will have the head writer watching the stuff play out, because just because it's written don't mean it's going to work, when it actually gets executed. And they'll be able to make flies on the change. They'll be able to be like, nah, don't say that. Change that. They could be like, man, hey, how about this? Grief is love persevering, or something like that. Like they that's how that happens. But if you don't have the writers there, you can't do that. All you have to do is stick to whatever's on the script if it's currently in production. So it also says here, in general, Hollywood's other unions, so the directors and the actors and stuff like that, they are forbidden by their contracts to join the current strike, and they must continue working, even though both members and leaders have expressed solidarity with the WGA. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit more clarity, the writers have their own union. The actors have their union, and so do the directors. And the actors right now, I don't know how much. I know the directors are kind of like in solidarity with them. They like, yeah, right on. But the actors, they like, yo, we can't act without them. All actors do is recite what the writers give them. So if the writers ain't writing, the actors ain't acting. They can't do it. Now, granted, they are obligated to finish out whatever's contractually done. So I think what needs to be kind of thought about here is, how long is this strike going to last? If this strike lasts for a week or two, we good. Okay, we good. The last strike, how long was it? I forget how long it was. I know it was more than 90 days. But it was months. I know that. The last strike lasted for months. And you noticed, if you watch TV and movies, you noticed a significant dip in quality very clearly. Thank you for that. It was 100 days. Thank you for that, SJ. 100 days. So, this is not something that we really want to play around with, because we're the ones that consume this content, but unfortunately, the actors and directors, they still got to do their job. they cannot just stop, even though I think that would send a stronger message. They can't just stop yet because of their contracts. Let's see, what else do they have? Now, because this would be the first writer's strike in the streaming era, there is no template for how they will look months down the line. And that's the key difference here. We ain't never had streaming before this. When the last contract was up and all that, TV was different. All of this stuff was different. Like I said, we had 25, 26 episode TV shows. We had things coming on every week. Now that's different. Streaming shows are like, man, we good, man. Just give us like 6 episodes and we'll stretch it. So like all of this changes up. Now, this does add in an additional question, and I've asked this myself about James Gunn. What do you do with the people that are wearing both hats? What do you do with the people like Tyler Perry? Tyler Perry writes, but he also owns everything. He's a producer. James Gunn, he was a writer for the vast majority of his career, and he just now got the gig of being a co-CEO. So now he's on that upper echelon now, right? He changed job positions. So it's kind of like, well, what do you do? They call them here, and they highlight it here, the hyphenates, and that including showrunners who act as head writers, but they're also producers or they're performer writers, and people like Quinta Brunson of Abbott Elementary, who do all of the above, are allowed to do they're allowed to do the non-writing parts of their jobs under union rules, though that work may be minimal as they seek solidarity with the writing staff. So, Abbott Elementary, that's also going to be something that's going to be affected. If you like that show, that's going to get hurt. And I would argue the writing is the best part of that show. If you haven't been watching Abbott Elementary, please do yourself a favor. That show is phenomenal. Go watch that show and support that sister. But yeah, this is the problem for them. So like, yeah, even James Gunn, you can go do other stuff, but you can't go do writing things because you're also a writer, at the same time. So it is definitely a complicated issue, but like, to be honest, it ain't that deep to me. I feel like at this point, you just need to pay these people, and here's the thing. Actually, you know what? I want to roll something real quick. Almost forgot. Let's take a listen to something real quick. All right. I want you to just hear it from their perspective. And I'm sorry, I don't know who, I forget her name, but I believe she is a writer. She's a prominent writer. I'm not sure exactly what she was from, but she did, I think, put on a good explanation of what's going on, so that way you guys get a sense of what's happening. So let's check this out. First of all, let me make sure this audio is good. Oh, no, hold on. That audio is about to be messed up. Hold on. All right, let me get my headphones here. Bingo. All right, let's check this out.
In the writer's room, we're being squeezed smaller and smaller.
You might need sound. Where's the sound? Hold on. Okay, there we go. There was no sound for me. All right, here we go. Sorry.
In the writer's room, we're being squeezed smaller and smaller and asked to work longer and longer periods for less and less money, less and less opportunity, less and less training on the job, so that we could eventually move up the ranks and have more creative ownership. The studios are pressuring the system in a way that makes us gig workers, essentially, like job to job to job, which is how a lot of folks live. But the point of a union is that we don't get treated like that. And when the studios refuse to even talk to us about our reasonable requests for some participation, for some creative ownership, for being valued for the number of years we've put into the job. Right now, if I join a mini room, my salary, my weekly pay is the same as somebody who joined the guild last week. I've been at this for 20 years, and it seems reasonable to me that my work should be valued differently after 20 years on the job. Writers need to be able to go to set, because when you go to set, you learn to produce the show. You learn how to write better. You learn how to interact with the crew and the cast better. You make a better product. Your vision is implemented on set. You need to be able to understand what's happening on the other side of it. After you turn in your script via email, somebody else takes it and films it in a location with real people and real equipment, and it comes to life. If you don't understand that part of it, you'll never be able to move up than somebody just like generating documents in a conference room, which is what the studios are trying to make us into.
Yep. So y'all got most of that. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of sound, but I think you pretty much get the gist of it. Right now, from the writer's perspective, the studios are trying to make them into gig workers, right? So like, it's almost like being an Uber driver or something, nah, you just a contractor. You just somebody that we just pulled off the street, and you can just go ahead and write this project for us. After that, get out of here. That's essentially what's happening. But unfortunately, it is getting a little bit more complicated than that. And I'm gonna get to a lot of y'all questions soon. Don't you worry about it. But we have heard a little bit from the producers. We've heard from the studio heads. And I don't know if it's hitting the same way. I don't know, but let's listen to what some of them are saying. And this is the CEO from Paramount. And he said here, writers are an essential part of creating content that our audiences enjoy, really across platforms. And we hope we can come to a resolution that works for everyone fairly quickly. But it's also fair to say that there's a pretty big gap today. So obviously we've been planning for this. We do have many levers to pull, and that's allowed us to manage through this strike, even if it's for an extended duration. In terms of those levers, we have a lot of, so to speak, content in the can. So with the exception of things like late night, consumers really won't notice anything for a while. Add to that a broad range of reality and unscripted, where we're definitely a leader, as well as sports, and that's not affected. And so what we can do more in those areas as necessary. And again, we have a leadership position overall. Plus, we have offshore production, which we've been moving to leverage pre-strike. One of the largest libraries. Paramount has one of the largest libraries in media. So many problems with that. So many issues with that. I mean, first of all, you're sitting here talking about writers are essential. Then pay them. If they essential, pay them. Like what? Just pay them. Okay, just do that. And I should have mentioned also, the writers have posted what their demands have been. And it's not like they like, yo, you better give us like 50%, 100%. They're not saying none of that. They was like, look, back in the day, we used to get like 6%. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, let's get like that 6% or 5% or whatever. And for a lot of the demands that the writers are making, the studios are like, okay, yeah, we can meet y'all with some of that. Okay, we can do that. But then here's the crux of it too. The writers are like, yo, when it comes to streaming, we need to see the numbers. We need to be able to see, did this show that I created, did it bring in millions of people? Is it getting millions of views? Am I doing better or worse than this company, that company, whatever? And the studios are like, see, what happened was we don't know how to track them numbers on streaming. Excuse me. I want y'all to understand what the studio just said. The studio said that they don't know how to track the numbers of people that watch their stuff, and they can't divulge that information. Sir, that's cap. Okay, you can't track your numbers, sir. That's cap again. You don't know where them people come from, sir. That's mocap. You telling me that you don't know how to track the fulfillions of people, sir? That's crap. That what? What? Y'all just gonna sit here telling these bold-faced lies? Y'all know good and well y'all know the numbers. But they out here acting like they can't do it. Get out of here with that nonsense. Hold on. Another one. Cap! Lying out here. Stop it. What is wrong with y'all? Acting like people don't understand the basics. Listen, I'd be like this. Oh, y'all don't know how to track your own numbers? Sound like y'all don't know how to do your job. Sound like you need to be replaced if you don't know how to track your own stuff. What are you afraid of? You're afraid that, well, I think, and I'm a paraphrase, but it was reported that apparently they couldn't find, or they didn't want to release the numbers because it would affect the competition and stuff like that. So y'all don't have no problem sitting here talking about we got the #1 rated show. We got the #1 show with millions of viewers. We got the highest rate. Y'all had no problems using the numbers to your advantage. But now y'all worried about competition? I threw all my caps. I'm out of cap. I'm out of caps. And then, I hope y'all didn't miss this. They said here, the CEO said that they have a lot of content in the can. That means that they are basically going to weather this out. They're going to weather this storm. Netflix, they got a billion times of content. It's out there. We know that. Paramount, they have a lot of content as well, which means they're going to release a lot of stuff in between times. And sadly, it sounds like they about to try and starve these writers out, because the unfortunate thing, writers don't make that kind of money, especially when you live in California. When you live out there, it ain't like living on the, in Alabama or like down south or something like that. The cost of living is pretty high. So like a lot of these writers, they usually have to work multiple jobs just to do that. Everybody can't be Taylor Sheridan. Everybody can't be Damon Lindelof. Like, it's not really the same type of payoff that like a lot of the top actors would get. And y'all know this too. Even actors, every actor ain't getting paid buku bucks. Some actors got a room with other people and sleep on somebody's couch because it's just kind of like that. It's a struggle out there. So again, the writers are not sitting here asking for a crazy amount, but at the same time, the studios are like, we got all this content though. And on top of that, they already talked about how they was going to look for outsourcing. What does that mean? That means that they about to go off to these, other countries, India or wherever they going out to, and they about to go get them writers out there and actually use them as, contract workers. And that they're going to charge far less. They're going to charge far, far less to have foreign workers basically go and do this. And I don't know how long the writers can last, to be honest with you. That's my fear and my concern is like the studios do have a lot of content. Can the writers last another 100 days? We only in what, day 3, 4? Can the writers last that long? And even if they don't last that long, like, what is that going to mean for our TV? I don't want to watch all these crazy reality shows again. I got turned off by reality TV shows because they just stopped being reality. After a certain point, people start to realize, nah, this ain't reality, man. You got the producer all in the background, dancing in the videos, you know what I'm saying? Giving them cues like, yo, go punch Sarah in the mouth right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all, like, go pull her hair right now. Like, come on now. Reality shows ain't even all that good no more. And now y'all gonna outsource too? That's just bogus to me. Like, all of this is just bogus. Yeah, so Netflix bragged about this. And then here we go. There was one more producer. One more. All the way at the top at WBD. David Zaslav. This guy right here. Listen to what this man had to say. Just listen to what he had to say. What he believes will bring the impasse to an end a love for the business and a love for working. We all came into the business because we love storytelling. That's what's going to bring us together. Sir, no, it won't. What will bring y'all together is money. That's all. This man literally sat here and said, "Oh, you love movies? I love movies. Let us forget about the money and come together." No. And guess what? That's easy for you to say when you just made $250 something million, whatever his bonus was. This man earned hundreds of millions of dollars, got a raise. These CEOs of these studios have been getting raises. I think Bob Iger was like one of the lowest at like 50 million. The rest of them are getting like 75, 100 million, 200 million and bonuses. And you're going to sit here talking about the love of making movies? What? Didn't nobody ask you, "Please, sir, can I have another script to write, sir?" That's not what they asking for. They just want some money to pay their rent. They just want to eat. And you talking about the love of movies? Woo! Man, talk about the have and the have-nots. I tell you, like, that is one of the biggest disconnects I've ever heard and read when it comes to these type of situations. But there's also, once again, another complication. So I told y'all they outsource, and I told you that they're going to go ahead and use outsource extra content that they already have built up. Here go the other scary thing right here. AI. That's right. And I ain't talking about Allen Iverson. AI is already happening in the studios. Says here, for weeks, multiple studios and streamers have been planning to use AI to generate scripts based on books and other IPs that is in the public domain. They are reliably told here that nearly every studio has already explored this possibility, and that should those plans come to fruition over the weeks and likely months to come, the studios plan to hire writers to rewrite those scripts once the writer's strike is over. In other words, they are out here saying, like, you know what? We heard about that Chat GPT and all the AI and stuff. Yo, AI, can you go ahead and write me a script for season 5 of, I don't know, Yellow Jackets or whatever? And guess what? It's going to regurgitate that script, or whatever's in public domain. I don't know, whatever properties that are existing. But here's my concern with that. I am not against AI. I am against Skynet, right? I'm not for Skynet. But the problem with AI so far is the fact that I believe in humanity. And I believe that at some point, people start to recognize the difference, right? Let's say, for example, y'all seen this already because some of y'all probably already did it. Y'all seen how people started changing up their profile pictures with the Mid Journey and the AIs. And don't get me wrong, some of y'all got some nice looking airbrushes. Okay, some people turned out real nice, looking like astronauts and queens and kangs and all of that. Some of y'all look good, but y'all also look kind of fake. Okay, not no shade. I'm just saying the animation is a little too clean sometimes. I know y'all saw this. What was it? Remember when they did the What If Black Panther, the first Black Panther thing, and it was all generated with AI, and y'all seen the what would happen if the celebrities change their race and stuff like that. Listen, a lot of that stuff looks interesting, it's different, but you can still tell it's AI, right? And I'm just saying, even if AI gets better, I do believe at some point the human mind is going to be like, you know what? I want the real thing back. Like, first of all, you got a little too many perfections. Your teeth are a little too straight. Your eyeballs are looking a little too pretty. Like maybe put a little eye booger in there or something. Like, so you got to mix it up a little bit. And I think that the standards are going to change to the point where humans are going to be like, I don't want this AI generated stuff no more. And I say that also because I believe that it's also going to affect the writing as well. Because right now, and thankfully, maybe, hopefully, AI is not like self conscious to the point where it's thinking on its own. At least I don't think it is. I believe right now AI is still slave to whatever it is programmed. And so far, that's been demonstrated because in different things of AI, you still see racial bias. I wonder why. Because whoever programmed them probably had unconscious racial bias. Ha! But my point is AI can only regenerate stuff based off of the past so far. Yeah, they might put it into a new direction, but it's still got to be based on whatever you program it. But it's only going to generate stuff from what's already been there. In other words, and this is just my theory, we're going to get a lot of formulaic stuff. If you watch, like, let's say a horror movie, this is one of my biggest criticisms with a lot of horror movies. The scripts are basically the same. Person walks up, something creepy over there. I wonder. I should go investigate. You go walk into that creepy place, some camera pan rolls around, gives you a couple fake outs, and then a jump scare, and then somebody does something stupid. Monster comes out, the hero or person does XYZ, defeats them, day is saved. That's generic horror movies for the past, I don't know, 30 years. So to me, I'm just sitting here thinking like, well, you're just about to have an AI do the same thing that a bunch of writers were already doing. And the problem with that is the fact that you're going to potentially risk not getting original stuff. You're going to potentially not have The Conjuring, Insidious, which I've told y'all all the time. James Wan has found new ways to scare you that are not like other movies. That's the human element. Now, I'll give another counter argument. You also have the idea that, you know what? AI is a tool. I'm not opposed to that. I work in IT, so I get that. It might just be time for some writers to learn how to use AI. Maybe it helps them. Maybe they can polish it up. Maybe it helps save time and they can put their own human element in there. And maybe we will never know the difference. Maybe. But I'm just saying, as a proponent for the arts, I think that from the days that we were like in the caves, right? Back when we was kangs and back when we was cave people, from the time we were drawing on those walls, people have always been attracted to the things that other people make. People have always been attracted to art because of it, it comes from other people. So I'm really, really hoping that this is not going to take off like that. Um, and I'm hoping that it does get rectified in some capacity, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Anyway, yeah, so y'all let me know what's going on, how you feel about the writer's strike. Like I said, you got AI kind of poking its head. The producers are kind of like not, they feeling fine because they got all of this content to wait on. They got AI, they got people in foreign countries that'll probably buck the line and, you know, work for a lot less. You cool with a lot of reality TVs coming up? Now, again, all of this stuff might not happen. But right now, there are certain things that the producers and the showrunners are kind of like, nah, we're not even gonna meet y'all halfway. We're not even gonna come to the table with some of these demands. But anyway, like I said, hopefully this thing does not last forever, but we will have to wait and see. But y'all let me know what you think in the comments down below.